My earliest memory of the fishing is coming to the harbour here with my father, as young as I can remember, and we stood round in that market and caught the ropes and stood there and waited till the fish was sold and counted it up in my head and run up the road to tell my father how much money he had made in the market that day. There was nothing in our heads, only fishing. Fishing, 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 that was it.
17, 18 years on my own fishing from here. Long time. If it wasn't for putting back the wee ones, there'd be no fishery. 18 years I've been doing that now, and it's been looked after that there wee bit of ground. It's a good bit of ground. I love it because you can be in every night in your own bed and home with the family.
The fish coming out of the Irish Sea is, in my opinion, second to none. I've seen fish in different parts of the world, and I have never seen the like of the cod that comes out of the Irish Sea, the haddock that comes out of the Irish Sea, the hake that comes out of the Irish Sea. It's second to none. It's absolutely the best in the world, in my opinion.
My family have been coming into this shop for more than 100 years now, you know, so as we're one of Belfast's oldest and longest trading companies. Our smoked salmon is 2 gold stars, the organic smoked salmon is 1 gold star. Our smoked scallops, top 50 foods. This is just from our wee shop on the Shankill Road.
You're down there every day and wind blows you about the harbour and you're fixing it nets and all, but sure, it's great, it's a great camaraderie. It's just a good industry. It's like farmers on the land. They don't always do it because of the money, they do it because they love the land. Well, the fishermen love the sea. And I've still got the same buzz when I was 17.
Name's from the Bible, and it means land of prosperity. We've had the name Fishing Ways for 50 years. Yep, 50 years, so the whole family, 3 brothers own the boat. Has its moments. Usually it's okay.
There's a mention in the patent rolls of Ireland going back to the Wars of the Roses of the importance of the herring fishery here. But this collection here basically is the more recent history for that you were still in those days using a drift net to capture herring, which seasonally swam in great numbers off the coast of County Down here.
I think it was the first sailboat in the Kilkeel. First one ever was. It was all wooden boats, you know. I was a wee bit dubious at the start, for there was wooden boats all in my life. And you had that feeling of a steel boat with the bugger catch much water, you'll go down like a stone. No boy, I give her a good test and coming home.
Castle Dawn is still after herring. Some skippers take a fancy to one fish or another, and for Howard Forsyth, it's the herring. He'll keep at it way into the off-season. Take his boat to the Clyde if necessary, maybe even the Shetlands. It's a gamble, but he knows what he's doing. Nowadays, the good skipper is a businessman first and foremost.
I was always a herring, man. I loved the herring. There's one year I fished the herring the whole year round. I started working off whole thing, and I finished in it at the end of June, and went away to the Minches and worked herring in the Minches. And when they took off a bit, we went through the canal and I worked the way down, worked off the Longstones, landed in the North Shields, and finished the way down off Whitby.
Well, it's some great times from Whitehill, and Clogherhead, Ardglass, Hoth, you know. We knew everybody there, like the fishermen, it's a community kind of thing, you know. So we knew all the fishermen. We also got to know their sons, their sisters and their daughters.
Jerry went out, he was a hunter-gatherer. And it was, the business end of it didn't matter as much. You caught your fish, you landed your fish, and away it went. The biggest thing was, where would you land in them days to get a lorry? Where could you land and where the lorries were at to try and get you to market, where was your nearest market? Now it's more, make sure you've got enough credit on your VMS to make sure that you're able to send signals out. Like they've even implemented now that for this discard, they're putting cameras aboard your boat. So it's got very technologically advanced from jives on the go.
So there's a lot more strain and pressure, if you like, on individual fishermen But basically, there's been small changes, subtle changes, but at the end of the day, the continuity is remarkable. And I'm not just talking about the last 40, 45 years that I've been involved. I'm looking back before those days at some of the pictures of Oudard Lass in the herring boom, and it was the same industry. It was just a different dimension. You know, we got health and safety and hygiene and all this kind of stuff now. So instead of doing it in the open and barrels on the quay, you're seeing a factory around the town which is state of the art and spaceship-like in its orientation.
People often ask you, you know, did you not miss home? Of course you missed home. But then there was homecoming. The homecoming was something else, it really was.
Well, people ashore didn't really know what went on. There's no TV cameras or what you had there in that video was the first time anybody ashore ever really seen what went on. Out here, nobody really knew. Once you were around up here, there was no mobile phones or satellite phones or nothing. Dad went away for 3 weeks. You never heard telephone for 3 weeks. That was it. There was one phone the whole street. Hard's wife had the phone. So he would have phoned home and said, we're here, we're there, we're somewhere else, and then she told everybody else. Different days. So
one of the brothers, Alan, the youngest lad, sent down for Lily and me, wanted us up to see the boat. So I was right through every bit of her. I done the whole lot. And when I went in the wheelhouse and I looked, so I wouldn't like you to ask me to take this boat out at Warren Point, so if I don't think I would ever get her down the loch with that much off. Before he was showing me one of the, therefore they had been cut the herring. He showed me a photo that they had in one of the machines they switched it on. They showed me the herring in the front of the net and the whole round of the net. And he showed me when the herring went back on down before they went into the small mast of the brailer, everything was in full looking at. We never knew, it was only guesswork with us lads. We seen a spot that were up and shot round it or something, you know.
My father wouldn't want to see where to sail. No way. Two things you got to have, sail and anchor. If you didn't have an engine, well, you could go to sea if you like, but you can't go to sea without a sail or an anchor. Well, you were able to get to where you wanted, or you were able to get in home again with sailing an anchor. An engine, you never did it, you never knew. Engines in those days, like, were very, well, they were less than reliable. They weren't steam engines, like, they were old lorry engines and motor car engines.
You know radars, you know sounders, you know absolutely nothing about it. You only, it was the landmarks you worked on. Some of the old men would have had me fort there, they could have smelt the water there if it was hanging on. And they were saying, they smell that, son, you know. And I remember one skipper, he shouts, there's a good smell here, skipper, I think it should all be all right. And he put his head out, I don't smell nothing. He says, you wouldn't smell them if they were getting fried in the pond behind you. I took a burst of laugh, you know, and the skipper took to laugh too, you know. He says, you wouldn't smell them, he says, if they were frying in the pond behind you.
I think this industry has been incredible because there's been challenges, but the industry has reacted. So boats have become more efficient. They've looked at alternative species and indeed alternative uses for fishing vessels. Some people have gone towards aquaculture rather than fishing. So the industry is developing all the time. When you talk about the seafood industry, it's an exciting industry made up of lots of parts, from the fishing boats to the factories to aquaculture producers. And all those people are working really hard to continue what they're doing, to have a sustainable and profitable business for the future.
My dad started the business over 50 years ago, so since I was barely able to walk, I was sort of hanging on his shirt tail, so I've been here since about 7 or 8 years of age. There was no fish market running here at that time. It was just a quay, and all the fishing that there had to be trailed up the quay and had to actually be manually lifted onto, there was no forklifts or anything like that. It all had to be manually lifted onto lorries. So like that was my first thoughts, you know, just up on the bridge there. Just I remember from I was no size, just trying to get the stuff struggled onto the lorries to get it away, to get it processed. You know, with the cod quotas and the cod recovery plans, not there. You know, the things that we used to have hundreds of boxes of per week, they're now not allowed to land it. So everybody just had to diversify. You know, the boats have had to change to prawn fishing, and we have had to change the supplies coming from other places. And you have to try and go with the change. If you don't go with the change, you're not going to be here.
And it's the same with us. You know, we are dependent on Portavogie to give us our livelihood. My father, he owned a fishing boat all his life, and my uncles and a few relatives and stuff. Sarah was a fisherman for 10 years, and then I took over Something Fishy NI, and I've just established it. I've just pushed myself out there to, you know, try and get more business, to try and get people to eat fresh fish. I do a lot of things on Facebook and Twitter, you know, it's all free publicity, and I just pushed myself out there.
We had an advantage where we were a whole prawn processor, and which was our main product for years. But then because of the rules, regulations, decommissioning, days at sea, quota cuts, we weren't getting as many whole prawns. So we had to look at further down the field to see what we do. So then we diversified into brown crab. Then we seen an opportunity to go into lobsters. So we put in an ad hoc system for a lobster system to see would it work, and it did. So then we put in a new state-of-the-art system that holds 2.5 ton, and we can keep them for 4 or 5 months alive. Then we had all that up and going, and now we're going to China, Hong Kong, Vietnam, all them places with brown crab and whelks. And then we looked at an oyster farm because we were asked for oysters. That's the way we're going to head, and that's why I had to diversify, or else I wouldn't be here today.
Day today, as you can see. If you've been here yesterday, there was horizontal rain. It wasn't pleasant at all, and usually the unpleasant days outweigh the pleasant days, but that's oyster farming. The first of our seeds came here last May-June time. So some of this stuff's coming up onto a year old, with some stuff just recently put down in this last month. So we have 2 years of crop at the minute on site, and hoping for harvest towards the end of this year. As the oyster grows new shell, we come and shake the bag, and it breaks this new shell off. That promotes a lovely shape of an oyster. If you don't shake them, they grow very long, they're not nice for the market. So if you work them now, you should have a good product come towards the end of the year. And we're just trying to put that into practice here now on the farm. The best laid plans can often go awry, but so far we've had no major problems, so we're quite happy with the progress so far.
I started off as a commercial fisherman when I was 17 and made nets. So I left at 16, made nets for a year, and then went fishing. 19 was on my skipper's ticket. I was threw out because I lied about my age. And then they got on my 21st birthday, believe it or not, on the day it come through the post. I was delighted. I thought they were going to forget about me. And 24, I started skipping boats, and sort of built up with 3 boats. And we noticed our profits going down. And that was mainly due to a cod recovery plan implemented, having to diversify from fish more to target solely prawns. And my bookkeeper said, Brian, your turnover's going down. Have you any idea, what else you could do? So I looked strongly at it. A cousin of mine had done well in the mussel industry up in the loch on a small scale. So I looked at that, rigged one of my trawlers, the middle-sized one, and we went from there.
It's been very hard, through a lot of financial hardship to get where we are today. Our quotas were cut, and we've had to go to the prawns for 3 and 4 months of the year, which really this size of the boat shouldn't be at. It's been very difficult to survive. as it goes to show you, there were only one left out of 40. So others have said they had enough and decommissioned, and others bought smaller boats and target prawns. That's the way the industry's been pushed.
At that time, the majority of our fleet was dependent on cod and other whitefish. And practically overnight, because of closed areas and reduced quotas, we were against the wall. Our members were against the wall. So we had to do a U-turn. We had to invest, our members had to invest in their boats to rig them out to target NEFROPs. We had to buy NEFROP quota. Look at us today. I don't like to brag. I always like to keep feet on the ground because you don't know what storm's round the next corner. But from an organisation that probably 10 years ago was facing significant challenges because of the challenges that the fishing industry faced, to an organisation today which now has invested in fish sales companies, factories, offshore energy, we have diversified, and please God, it has worked.
Well, that was the sea change when the responsibility for managing the quotas was basically given to the POs to do on behalf of their members. And that would have been 20 odd years ago now. But that is the major role the PO plays these days. We do representational stuff. We do stuff like this, helping them with the chandlery and stuff. We do their paperwork for them in terms of buying and selling of boats and getting licenses fixed up and all this kind of stuff. It's a never-ending chore, and no 2 days are ever the same. That's the thing about the job. There's that much variety in it.
I think fishing communities are resilient people. The people who live here are resilient. They've lived by the sea and they've worked on the sea for generations. Communities like Portavogie here, up to 39% of the population are employed in the industry. So the industry aren't a bolt-on to the community, they're an integral part of the community that are so important for the survival of places like Portavogie, Ardglass and Kilkeel.
I was 16 on 24th of June and I started the 11th of August, 40 years. I was only 16 when I started and I'll be 56 this year. Well, when I started first it was all hand shell, but now it's all conveyor belts and all. Everybody works as a team now, where before, when it was a hand shell and everybody just sat and done their own work. Just pure hand shell, just tables, steel tables like that, and everybody hold back by hand shell. The racks we use was more smaller racks. It was just into a rack like that. They put the prawns into it and then they'd wheel them away out and put them into a blast freezer. And then they'd take them out of the blast freezer and send them away then.
In Kilkeel we specialise in prawns because we find here we've a quality product right on our doorsteps and it can be frozen within minutes of landing, but retains the quality. And the business is based on having good staff and a good quality product that you're able to sell to the consumer. We have people employed now by the group for over 30 years, which is good. I think it's important to look after your staff and you have good staff to retain that staff.
Seasource is actually run by the NIFPO, which is run by the fishermen in Kilkeel. So the fishermen that are landing into us, they're members of the PO as well. So it's run by fishermen, so that makes it unique.
POs basically form or do two key things. One is to manage their members' quotas, but also the other one is to market their members' catches. And for most producer organisations, I would go as far as saying throughout Europe, the marketing function has been allowed to fall by the wayside, and POs have taken a lot of responsibilities on. But here in the UK, there are probably 3 producer organisations that are involved in marketing, and it has been a long-term aspiration of ours to get into that field.
My role here is manager, and so I'm in charge of keeping everybody in line. So when the scallops come in off the different fishing boats, we bring them in, put them on the tables, and then we start cutting them. So everybody's cleaning with 10 cleaning and 1 labour. So everybody cleans, you clean 2 bags, then they get up, get weighed down to the boat because the boat gets paid on what we get out of the scallops. So they're weighed by our labourer and he washes them, puts them in tubs, and they're sitting in water till the end of the day to get the rest of the dirt out. We're processing about 2.5 tonne a week out to France, and then the rest would be going to suppliers in Kilkeel, right to Belfast, to the top hotels in Belfast.
So far, here we are, end of March 2015, we're positive about the direction that we're going in, initially focusing on scallops, but primarily looking to add value to all the products that's landed by the people that own the factory. And of course, the people that own the factory are the fishermen along the County Down coast.
My dad and my brothers have a boat, the Lynn Marie. Dad's been fishing over 30 years, so he's got good experience. So he's in here cutting, but it's a wee bit of a change from actually being out on the boat. So he's seen both sides of it. So I'm getting hassle from getting them cut and then getting hassle when I get home as well.
My two sons is fishing the boat at the moment, and I thought I'd try this venture with the daughter, processing scallops. Because, well, really in Northern Ireland we haven't got many processors, and because of the growth of the scallop fleet, we're having to ship the scallop either to Scotland or Southern Ireland. So we thought by processing some locally, it would serve the boats better.
There's actually a local fish and chip shop in Ballinhinch. Last week, Fish City has just started battering them.
We have started using scallops that are fished right off the coast of Ireland. It's a fantastic product. We've now started battering it, and feedback from our customers is completely amazing. And that is a fabulous product, and we're delighted now to start working locally as well with the local fisheries to have different choices on the menu. The most important thing for us was that we wanted to demonstrate that our fish was sourced from sustainable shores. Customers today, especially after the horsemeat scandal in Ireland a couple of years ago, customers today are very, very switched on to the provenance of their food. And by becoming MSC certified, we're able to demonstrate, trace where our fish comes from, the ocean right to the plate. And the MSC accreditation demonstrates that, and that's why we decided to go for it, and we're very proud.
We've got an MSC accreditation with the mussels, Irish Quality Mussels accreditation as well. Every year we go out and we take a certain amount of seed from a mass of seed, and we leave seed behind us to create a broodstock. The mussels that we produce on our farms act as a broodstock. So at sort of springtime every year they spawn, and that helps the system. So it's like an ecosystem.
The V-notching, 17, 18 year V-notching now, and there's a massive difference. You see it every year, getting better and better and better. When you get the female comes up, you V-notch the tail, and then you put her back, and then that lasts for 5 years. And she produces every year. Maximum £5,000 fine for holding her.
Every time they change their shell, produce a new shell, it's slightly larger each time. So like the V will eventually get smaller and smaller and smaller. Eventually it'll just look like a small indentation in the tail. You know, it sort of gets to that point you just cut them again because you know which one that's ready to be V-notched, like, you know. Yeah, that's V-notch stuff. Yeah, that's V-notch stuff here. They're females with eggs on them. See here. You put it back today.
With the amount of effort we have fishing now, if we hadn't got the V-notching scheme, I think the fishing would be very, very poor. The fishermen are very keen on doing it, and we're getting a grant from the Department of Agriculture to do it. They pay about 60% of the value of the lobster back to the fisherman.
When I started off, you would have got 30, 40 kilo a week. Now it's up to 150 kilo a week with stuff in the same creels over 18, 17, 18 years. It's a massive difference.
We've introduced a complete bespoke, made for Ewing Seafoods order processing system that we've been developing for the last couple of years, and it's up and running fully now, giving us complete traceability for every willock that you've just heard there that is distributed. You know, that's of paramount importance. We are also now BRC Grade A accredited, which is the highest global standard recognised, and we think for a small business in Belfast Shankill Road, that's quite impressive. Years ago we were still selling a lot of stuff, but now, you know, it has moved on. We're more into the The food service end, supplying hotels and restaurants, we're supplying over 300 outlets, most of them getting every day. There is a big demand. Fish is seen as a very popular food. The demand for higher quality stuff, different species, has greatly improved. The restaurants and hotels are demanding more. It's healthy. It's the way forward, and we're very fortunate to be in this industry.
Now in Northern Ireland we're really beginning to celebrate our local products. It's quite a recent thing, but suddenly I think we realise we've got fantastic fish, we've got fantastic beef, we've got amazing products from Northern Ireland. 2016 is going to be the year of food, and I hope that seafood is a really big part of that, because it is something we should be proud of. The local restaurants want to sell local products. We've got really talented local chefs who appreciate the quality of our products.
I mean, my background was I was a shellfish farmer, and 10, 15 years ago, you know, you could have put it into one small van that would have basically supplied the whole of Belfast, the St George's Market, the restaurants with oysters and mussels for the whole week. But now, you know, there'll probably be maybe a ton and a half of mussels alone eaten in Belfast every week. So that's where it's come to in 10 or 15 years.
I think people travelling and lots of more cookery programmes on TV, and just people's knowledge, and they're trying different things, you know. And also I think chefs are getting better on how to handle fish. All we had really a choice of was maybe trout and salmon on our menus now, but we've all sorts of fish. Ling even, you know, where people are throwing ling back. You're seeing pollock, you know, all those fish, white fish that we have loads of in our seas that were never used.
Well, we would supply the like of you know, the like of Ewing's that supplies a lot of the big restaurant chains and that there around the city in Belfast and out around Northern Ireland. But we also do some retail things. You know, we do Bangor Market and on a Wednesday, and we'll do St George's Market there on a Friday as well. You know, the tastes have changed slightly. You know, it used to be whiting, haddock and cod, you know, but there is definitely more things coming in. You know, on the stall now you would sell more of the like a sea bass and maybe a lot more salmon than what you would used to sell. You know, the younger generations are going maybe for, you know, something a little different, you know.
So we would buy direct from the boats in Kilkeel, hake, plaice, cod, haddock. We also would buy a lot of queen scallops from Portavogie, the north coast. We process those, and our lobster, crab comes from Manalong. Our mussels come from a mussel farmer in Strangford Lough, and our oysters come from Carniford Lough in Donegal. So 95% of what's eaten in this restaurant is Northern Ireland seafood.
We're only scratching the surface, like, you know, for all the hake. It's all shipped out to Spain and them countries, and we're trying to push it on to, you know, to sell it in their restaurants and sell fresh product coming off the ports instead of shipping it all off to different countries.
Hopefully, if you interview us this time next year, the local sales will be 3 or 4 times as much, hopefully.
And like when you look, as I have done over the last number of years, looking at the legacy ports, places that in many ways the fishing industry didn't change, I have to say. And what has happened to the fishing industries there, it's died. It's become a legacy. And I don't want that to happen to Kilkeel, and I don't want it to happen to Portavogie and Ardglass and the County Down coast.
I mean, you take this industry out of Ardglass and you've nothing left, or very little left anyway. And people seem sometimes to understate that, but the industry is bloody resilient. It stays. It's still here. More boats in Ardglass now than I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, when I first came here, I think there was 3 boats in Ardglass. You got 30 now.
So when they're still surviving and a few more businesses starting again, you can see that the industry is, through it all, still profitable, still making a few pound that they spend on their boats. Because if they didn't do that, those industries around the harbour couldn't survive.
You know, I think there's a good, healthy industry, maybe there, but it needs to be nurtured. You need support. And I'm not knocking the government, I'm not knocking policy. No, we need help. We need to be helped to sustain it, because the will's there. We just need a wee bit of help.
There'll always be fish in the sea, and if we can maintain and create the conditions that fishermen are getting the reward that they deserve for harvesting the sea, there will always be fishermen.